Hello everyone, Storm 11 here. Today we'll be tracking a winter storm that's becoming likely at this point that may go across portions of the Central Plains and eventually getting up into the upper Midwest. We're also tracking maybe another winter storm threat that could happen across the Ohio Valley again here. Still some high uncertainties here, but there's a potential that we could see another winter storm threat across some of these regions here as well. We'll be talking about that. So let's first take a look into the GFS model here. And let's take a look to our first system. Well, this is not our first system, but it is a Clipper system that I've been going by here. Not gonna be too big of a deal. Could bring some light accumulations across portions of Great Lakes in the upper Midwest. We're watching for this system right here. Trough will be moving on onto California here. Eventually going past the Rocky Mountains, and eventually it will start to deepen as it gets across portions of the Central Plains, which has also been trending back and forth with this. And it seems like the better uncertainty is the areas I've just circled here. It seems like the GFS is a little bit further north with this. And you can see here it brings in a pretty decent winter storm across, the Dakotas, Minnesota, Wisconsin, portions of Iowa, Nebraska, and the upper Michigan here. And um, this is where some of the high uncertainty really starts to come into play. So another low, this is becoming likely at this point. Another low looks to be that can develop somewhere around the Arctic region, go up along this cold front here that will drag from this system right here. And this is only one solution here. We get a pretty strong low already across northern Alabama, 997 millibar low. And there's some icing going on across, Ohio, Indiana, back down across Arkansas and Tennessee. And that could bring in an ice or threat, but it's pretty slim here with that. The low starts to deepen as it moves further to the northeast. If this is correct, you can see near blizzard conditions on the winter side of things, possibly an ice storm. Meanwhile, across, Kentucky, portions of Tennessee, and Ohio, there could be a flash flood threat. A lot of rain could occur. And meanwhile, in the warm sector, severe weather could also happen as well across portions of the southeast here. But either way, this system is definitely going to create a lot of wind. I mean, the warm sector, we're talking about winds right now averaging out 45 to 50 miles an hour in a few areas here. Our system starts to move to the northeast, bringing in a pretty good swath of heavy snow all the way across a good chunk of the Ohio Valley. And this is definitely a system we're going to watch here. GFS has been consistent for a couple runs here. It's likely to be shifting around a lot more. And we'll have a little better idea as we get closer to the system. But really, the timing on this here is really, really looking to be beginning New Year's Eve, and eventually getting to New Year's Day, and eventually getting to January the 2nd. So these regions here may need to watch for a possibility for a winter storm threat, and there's still going to be some questions here. Now, this is just one solution, and other models do have different solutions about this here. Let's take a look into the GFS ensembles here. We're looking at both systems here. You can see here, this is an average from all 20 members. We got a pretty good agreement for a winter storm to go on across Nebraska, South Dakota, southern Minnesota, northern Iowa, and eventually getting into Wisconsin. Pretty widespread amounts, 9+ inches for the most part across a good chunk of these regions. And it's really, we got pretty high confidence at this point here that a winter storm is going to be occurring across those regions. And you can actually see here with the secondary winter storm threat, you can see here it goes anywhere from northern Arkansas, southeastern Missouri, through southern Illinois, and up across northern Indiana. A little bit further north than what the GFS has it, but you can see here definitely some similarities here. Pretty decent snowfall totals as far south as Kentucky here. This is why it's a pretty large area here, because balls are likely to be going, be shifting around, and the system itself could change around as well. There's well. And let's look into the European model. So here comes your first wave. Seems like there could be two different waves of snow across, the upper Midwest here. You got wave number one here, and wave number two not so much there. But as we kind of get to our next event here, our low pressure system pretty much in a similar spot here, pretty much develops around the Arctic region. It actually jumps a little bit further north than what the GFS model has it. And also not really showing that much of a winter storm here, but it definitely shows a decent amount of snow that could occur across a good chunk of Illinois, even back across the lower Ohio Valley. But either way, still bringing in a lot of wind across a good chunk of these regions here. I mean, when you get these isobars so close to each other, that means some stronger winds here. And generally speaking, in the warm sector, you got some pretty good winds across these regions here there as well. And meanwhile, severe weather could be occurring across some of these regions here as well. But it's too early to get to the Pacifics for severe weather. But it seems like the potential could be there for some severe weather across some of those regions there. You can see here it moves up across the northeast. It pretty much shows another chance for some heavy snow across a good chunk of Michigan. There's one. Meanwhile, that cold front here bringing in a line of pretty decent thunderstorms there, and damage winds will probably be the primary threat foes there as well. Here's the GFS on a different look here. As you can see there goes, your second system here. I mean, this is actually the 12Z run. You can see you're showing a little bit of a similar solution here, a little bit further to the southeast, bringing it a little bit more winter storm, a little bit further to the southeast. We're definitely going to watch these trends very closely here. Model's been really trending towards a secondary system that could develop, somewhere around the Arctic region and move up along the northeast. Now, GFS is going to be being a little bit too progressive. I mean, GFS has been, pretty common to have a progressive bias, moving too fast, something like that. That's why it's a little further to the southeast. But if you look into the latest run, you can see here it's a little bit further back across the west and the north. And we're likely to see it this again, back and forth there as well. If we look into the Canadian model with this, now the Canadian model did a pretty good job on the last event. I'll definitely say that at least. So we'll really endorse the Canadian model with this setup here as well. And you can see here it brings in a pretty decent wave of snow across the Central Plains, the Upper Midwest. But then you can see here it actually deepens much earlier, a little bit further to the west, bringing in more blizzard-like conditions across, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Kansas, Iowa. Do I think this is going to happen? There's a chance, but really, it's likely to change around some. We still got some uncertainties for the second little developing here. But the European model GFS seems to have some similarities there as well. So we'll probably pay attention more across the Ohio Valley. And this is just the 12Z run, so we'll see if the next run will trend a little bit more towards the GFS the European model. But we're going to see about that. But if this is correct, you got a lot of wind that became happening across some of these regions here. I'm still learning this paint here, guys, here. So just ignore this here of what's going on. But you can see here a lot of wind going across some of these regions here, especially with those isobars very close to each other there. Blizzard conditions across, the winter side of things here. But we're going to see what's going to happen here very closely here. And like I said many times, it's definitely looking to be the system will be producing a lot of wind. So there goes system number one. Here comes system number two. This is the European model. You can see a pretty good wind gusts across Kentucky, Tennessee, portions of Indiana. 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts, but European model has a history of, overdoing these wind gusts, so not really going to be that accurate. But here comes system number two, which brings in even stronger wind gusts, costing to 60 miles an hour in a few areas here. In the mountains, it's much higher. But then again, it's likely to be overdoing these wind gusts, just to keep in mind. It's even got a wind gust of 92 miles an hour there, if you guys didn't catch that. And you can see here, this high wind will likely move across to the northeastern United States, which these areas here just experience some pretty strong winds. And again, these winds are likely to be overdone, just to keep in mind of. And here's the GFS. You can see here it's showing similar wind gusts, but not as widespread. If we kind of back up here, you see here, there goes system number one. Wind gust around 40 miles an hour across the Ohio Valley. And here comes the second system here, which in the winter side of things, it does bring in some near blizzard conditions. In the warm sector, you got wind gusts, 50 miles an hour in a few areas. You can see it really starts to pick up speed there. But generally, wind gusts 50 miles an hour does seem a possibility, but it just seems like either way, it's going to produce a lot of wind. That's what we do know at this point, although that could change. What we do not know is it's going to be really going to be the track and where all this stuff is going to happen. That's the part where we really don't know that much yet. So this is kind of like the general map here. I'm going to have to shift this further to the north, but generally speaking, southern South Dakota, southern Minnesota, good chunk of Wisconsin, upper Michigan, and a good chunk of Nebraska as well, portions of Kansas. We'll likely be seeing a winter storm, which again, the timing is going to be really between December 29th to the 31st. And there could be a winter storm threat across generally most of the Ohio Valley, December 30th to January 2nd. But then again, it's likely to change around a lot more, and it's the same timing for the severe weather potential that could happen across these regions here as well. But anyways, we'll be monitoring this here very closely here, and we'll probably have a better idea as we get closer to the event. But anyways, guys, this is Arctic Guys today. Hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you guys did like this video, hit that like button. If you really like my channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notification so you never miss an upload. If you guys have questions about this, you can put a comment section down below. I'll answer your questions. And oh yeah, I almost forgot. Hope you guys did have a pretty good Christmas yesterday. I mean, time making this video was, yesterday. Hope you guys did have a pretty good Christmas. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.